पूज्याय राघवेन्द्राय सत्यधर्मरथाय च भजतां कल्पवृक्षाय नमतां कामधेनु. A warm welcome to all of you to Sri Raghavendra Swamy Prarthana Mandir, Melbourne, branch of the revered Sri Raghavendra Swamy Matha in Mantralayam. Guru Raghavendra Swamiji's devotees are present all over the world, and our Kalpavruksha Kamadhenu, Mantralaya Guru Sarvabhauma Sri Raghavendra Swamy comes to bless his devotees wherever they are. With the blessings of Pujya Sri Subodhendra Tirtha Swamiji, we were delighted and blessed to welcome Guru Raghavendra Swamiji from Mantralaya to Melbourne in February 2019 and to be the first branch of Mantralaya Matha in Australia. We conduct daily puja of the Chara Vrindavana and Paduka and conduct weekly Samuhika Guru Vandana online for all devotees to participate and offer prayers to our dear Guru Rayara. Devotees have welcomed the Rayara Paduka and Prahlada Raja to their homes to seek the Guru's blessings. We celebrate all major festivals and Aradhana events of the visionary saints by offering our seva to the Lord through various religious and cultural programs, inviting both international and local artists to perform, like our recent 8 days Aradhana 2020 Mahotsava, featuring leading artists like Shri Vidyabhushan Ji, Shri Puttur Narasimha Nayak Ji, Shri Mysore Ramchandra Acharya Ji, amongst others. We are delighted to present our current Navaratri 2020 program, celebrating the rich heritage and culture of our Mathrubhumi, Bharat. We hope you all join and participate in this program. Om Shri Raghavendraya Namaha. Shri Raghavendra Swamy Prarthana Mandir proudly presents Dr. Sunder Madakshira. Namaskara. A very warm welcome to all of you on day 8 of our Navaratri 2020 program. On behalf of Sri Raghavendra Swamy Prarthana Mandir, Melbourne, we welcome all of you, and we would like to thank you also for this enormous support that we have received from all of you for the last 7 days and for this program in general. Also would like to thank all the parents who sent in such beautiful videos of their kids, which we had showcased just a little while ago. And we got overwhelming response, so we will have a part 2 of that coming up tomorrow for another 30 minutes. So please do not forget to tune in at 6:45 p.m. tomorrow for the next part. We would always like to start by thanking our dear sponsors, Karigal Dental Clinic, Melbourne Kannada Sangha, Ninada Cultural Association, and Melbourne Ayyappa Seva Sangam, and several other families who have come ahead and participated in this through kind donations. We are always thankful to them. Dasara or Navaratri days, or these 10 days that lead to Dasara, as we all know, have various special days each day. And yesterday was the day for Mata Saraswati, for the Saraswati Puja. Mata Saraswati, as we all know, is the Mata or the Devi for all forms of arts, for knowledge. If I were to talk about it probably in a computer lingo, once a computer is created and ready, just like Lord Brahma creates our body and puts in the operating system into it, the next and the most important thing that we need is always the hard drive or the memory for the system, the basic memory of the computer. because that is what really holds everything and runs the system. Mata Saraswati is just like that. In case you're wondering, why is it that I'm talking in this computer lingo, in this IT lingo to all of you? Maybe it is the influence of our next speaker who's going to join us, Dr. Sunder Madakshira. Dr. Sunder comes with a very, very rich background, having worked for over 25 years in various sales and leadership roles in reputed IT companies like Infosys, Wipro, and worked in famous companies like Hindustan Lever and Visa. Currently, he serves as the VP of marketing or the marketing leader for the famous company Adobe, which is known for their creative skills. Dr. Sundar's creativity goes beyond just his work in this marketing field and the IT field. For the past 30 years, he has been studying about Indian scriptures and Vedantic studies under the renowned scholar Sri Vyasankere Prabhanjanachar. And today, we have Dr. Sundar joining us to talk to us about a very pertinent topic for today's generation, which includes us as well as the younger generation, about how the spiritual and scientific significance of rituals that we do on a daily basis. What is the scientific part of it, and what is the spiritual part of it? So, without further ado, let me now invite and welcome Dr. Sundar to join us.
Shri Gurubhyo Namah Hari Om. Thanks, Sanjeev, for that excellent introduction about the mud in Melbourne. I'm very, very excited to be a part of this program. Hearty welcome to everybody who's joining this program live from most parts of Australia and other parts of the world as well. I heard from Chinmay that it's getting very cold today in Melbourne, and I hope you all stay safe and warm and are able to join this program. So today, we are here to talk about a very unique aspect, which is the scientific as well as the spiritual relevance of rituals. So whenever we look at the topic of rituals, the first thing we hear is, "Oh, I don't think it is scientific, nor is it spiritual." That's the unfortunate myth which is there. So today we will discuss that topic. I will share a few perspectives, and then we will have question and answers from all of you at the end of the program. So I've just put a presentation just to give you a few visual appeal so that you could see what I'm talking about. And it's easy to follow rituals when you're actually seeing the pictures. So if you just look at, the topic of the rituals itself, right? The rituals have two parts to it. So which is the spiritual part of it, and there is a scientific part of it. And obviously, because India has been the leader in the field of science for not now, but for thousands of years. And towards the end of the work of this presentation, I will take you through some fantastic examples of how India has not just been a participant in the scientific revolution around the world, but has been at the forefront leading to some fantastic achievements in the area of architecture, in the area of science, physics, medicine, and so on. So let's jump into today's topic, which is on the topic of spiritual and scientific significance. I put a brief agenda. Why do we do these rituals? What are the scientific and the spiritual relevance of these rituals? And finally, we'll do the question and answer. So first, let's look at what we all desire in our life, right? There are so many people on this call, and they're listening to this presentation. Does everybody on this call want to be an engineer? I'm sure no. Some of them say, "No, I don't want to be an engineer." Does everybody want to be a doctor? Again, people say, "No, I don't want to be a doctor." Then I admire doctors, but I don't think I want to become a doctor. Similarly, somebody else might say, that do we want to become a sportsman? At that time, we sit around and say, "No, I don't think I'm cut out for sports. I love watching sports, but I can't. I don't want to be a sportsman myself." So everybody wants to be different things and different, according to their personality, and that's their desire. Some people desire, they desire money. Some people desire new experiences. Some people desire arts and creativity. But one thing is common amongst all of us, which is that we all want to be happy, right? So if I turn around and ask you people the same question, saying how many of you want to be happy, I don't think there's anybody on this call or any other forum where people come back and say, no, I don't want to be happy. We want to be happy. All of us definitely want to be happy. Number one. Number two, we don't want unhappiness or sorrow even for one second, right? If you were to wake up in the morning and say, look, today you've got to take an injection, it's really good for you. You need to take a COVID vaccination. We know the benefit of doing it, but none of us are prepared to go through that pain, even for a split second. So that's our nature. That's a basic nature of our soul, that we always are looking for permanent happiness, a state of total happiness, or one can stretch it even more to say we want to be in a state of bliss or total happiness, or the ultimate sense of happiness that we all want to achieve. So our scriptures, our shastras, they all are precisely designed to take us towards the path of that eternal happiness of bliss. The ultimate goal of our scriptures is to give us that sustained happiness and keep us in a state of bliss, so that we never face the sorrow, and we are in that state, a spiritual state, where we are thinking about only the most pleasant things in the world. Now, given this, obviously one can be happy only when all the negative energy in us comes down and positive energy goes up. Now, first of all, what is the energy? What do you mean by energy? I think all of us agree to this. When we meet some people, right? When we meet a few people, they make us sad. The moment they come into the room, in a classroom or in a meeting room, it puts us off. They put us off. They have a way of sort of sucking our energy, sometimes you feel. But there are other people who can come inside and immediately energize the whole world. Everybody around them is talking, that they are coming out of that, any kind of sorrow. They're energized. They're looking at that person the moment that person comes inside, and they never want that person to leave. So all of us, whether we recognize or not, have both positive and energy in us. And the scriptures are all aimed to ensure that the happiness goes up and the sorrow comes down. So you saw a picture in the previous slide. If you just look at that picture again, what you will see is that it was of a school bus, right? When we were young, all of us used to sit. This is a typical, school bus in India, where children are sitting there. They're in such a cramped place, and they have to go to the school, and it's driven on a cycle. Somebody will be sitting there and actually cycling them to their school. And look at the place; it's a cramped place. All these children are sitting inside, and there is absolutely no place, but they are all happy. So remember your childhood. Remember your school bus. We loved going to the school. We loved being with our friends. It's the noisiest place. The school bus is one of the noisiest places in the world. Have you seen a bus which is carrying people, grown-up people, to their workplaces? Can you see all the energy levels? Everybody's got his head hanging like this. Most people are sleeping in a bus when they're going to the office, and because they're going to the office, and they're sleeping on the way back because they're coming back from the office. So either way, there is that energy and that positivity around us somewhere from the time that we grew, from childhood to adulthood. We seem to have lost that energy, lost that curiosity, lost that energy, and that perpetual smile on your face. And at the same time, children always bring smile on other people's face. We've lost that ability as well. So somewhere there, we need to energize ourselves. And the scriptures have always mandated that if we want to be happy, then there are certain methods, and there are certain things that we need to do to gain that happiness back in our life. So why do we perform these rituals? We perform rituals today. Why do we do it? Because we feel happy. Whenever there's a ritual, there's a festival at home. Now that Dashera is going on, everybody just feels, generally they feel happy. We feel connected to God. Whenever there is a puja at home, there's a prayer to be done, we feel, connected to God. At that day, we feel a little spiritual. We feel relaxed on the day of when a homa or a yagna has been performed. We do feel relaxed. We feel nice about it. Some of us do it because we perform rituals because our ancestors did it. They are saying that, okay, our ancestor did it, my father did it, my grandfather did it, so I should also do it. The other reason some people perform rituals is that they're afraid of giving it up, saying, "Oh, all these years, people have been performing these rituals. If I give it up, maybe something bad will happen to us." But mostly we do these rituals, we perform these rituals very blindly. Neither do we know the spiritual significance, nor we do know the scientific relevance of doing this. And some of us will know, and it's our duty to ensure that we are actually passing on this information and this knowledge to everyone who does not know, so that people who perform do it out of the love for the fact, and very importantly, to feel happy about whatever they're doing. That is why we perform these rituals. Now, the rituals have three types of relevance. Why do we do this? Every ritual has a physical relevance, it has a medical relevance, and it has a spiritual relevance. So, physical relevance meaning that how does it energize us is a system. So that physical system which has got things with which we do the rituals. So perform the rituals, right? So there is a prayer. So there are certain things that you need to offer a prayer. Similarly, there's some medical benefits that you get. Our body, our mind are a part of that benefit. They are the maximum beneficiaries from the perspective of the medical relevance. And lastly, which is the core benefit that we get, it is spiritual, which is our state of mind. Now, why do we need to know all this? We need to know all this because in our mind, today we can see, when we compare ourselves with our ancestors, I think most of us will agree that our ancestors were definitely more healthy. They were happier, even with lesser things around them. They never had the kind of gadgets, they never had the types of cars, they didn't have the kind of even economic well-being that we have. Yet we always found them to be healthier. People lived till 100 years, very often, even till a few decades back. And then even when they were there, even when they were 80, 90 years old, they were strong. They could do all their activities by themselves. Mentally, they are very, very alert. So therefore, what happens is that generation after generation, despite the advances in the medical sciences, despite the advances that we have in virtually every aspect of our life, what we see is that the mental well-being of people, the physical well-being of the people is actually come down. So with so many drugs, with so many doctors, so many facilities that we have, so many things, gadgets, and devices which help reduce the physical strain and pressure, isn't it logical that we should have been much, much happier, much more positive about our life? But we have become busier, we have become less energetic, we have become stressful. So when we become stressed, what happens is the medicine or the whatever is the prescription by the doctors, be it in the form of exercises or medicines or vaccines or anything that you talk about, all of them will be rendered ineffective, because all these are designed for people who have a normal body. Let us say you have fever. It is assumed that you have only fever. At that time, it is not assumed that you are also stressed at the same time. So the medicine is geared up largely to ensure that the fever comes down because of the medicine. It does not take into account that your physical body is not at that state. So therefore, if we want to see happiness, the only way to do that is to ensure that our physical, medical, and spiritual part of our life are all taken care of in equal measure. So that is the real relevance of these rituals. So whenever we talk about rituals, immediately people say, "Oh, rituals must be something to do with God and temple, so we should think about it only." That's wrong. Rituals are something that every country, every society, every community follows. So when look at a country. A country has a flag, and every time there's a flag which is hoisted, people salute the flag, right? So what is that? That's a ritual. Similarly, the national anthem is a ritual. When the national anthem is played, we all stand up and acknowledge the national anthem. So every situation, you go to school, the moment that the teacher comes inside the class, all the students stand up. That is also a ritual. You come into a meeting, you greet everybody. That is also a ritual. Unfortunately, let us say a leader of a country, he passes away. What happens? People go and pay respects to the body. That is also a ritual because the person is not alive. Why are you doing it? It's a mark of respect. So, like the way there is a mark of respect, there is a ritual that we perform in the society for other things, for spiritual well-being, for the physical well-being, and the medical well-being. We also have certain rituals, and these rituals have been time-tested. They've been done for thousands of years, and by so many people who questioned it, they have not accepted it blindly. They questioned it. They got the answers. That is why they are doing it. So it's up to us. If you want to know the relevance and then do it, it's fine. Even if people don't understand some of it but are still doing it, that is also fine. For example, when we all take medicines, do we know what is there inside the medicine? Most of the times we don't know it. The doctor has said it, whom we trust. So if he has said it, it must be good for me. So I take the medicine without knowing. And without knowing, again, this medicine totally starts to work as well. So that is why the relevance of rituals is very high in our life. So so let's now look at a few rituals that we perform on a daily basis, and we will learn the scientific and the medical and the spiritual meaning of this. The first and the most important ritual that we have been taught since childhood, and probably this is the first ritual that we have been taught. So actually, the first ritual we have been taught as kids was, if somebody comes, put your hand in front of them and shake hands. But today are COVID times, so don't shake hands with people. The world today has understood the relevance of this particular ritual, which is to do namaskar. So why do we do this? So there is a lot of significance of namaskar. It is not a blind ritual. We say every country must be having some ritual, so this is also one of them. This is probably one of the most widely accepted rituals that are performed to show respect for something. So when I do namaskara to somebody else, what do I gain? Will be the question that many people have. There is a lot to gain, and we'll come to that in a minute. So first one is, when you're putting this together, the namaskara, the tips of the fingers are energy points. So these tips are the energy points. You're joining them. It's like joining two ends of end of one wire with the end of the other wire. It acts as the way to transmit energy throughout your body. So if the moment you hold like this, the tips of the body are energy points. This is accepted in the Nadi Shastra, which is another form of understanding where the energy points are in our body. The yoga actually recognizes different parts of our body which are stored, where energy is stored. The moment you do this, it energizes the whole body. Then when we join the hands, the fingers like this, it activates the nerves in the upper body. The upper part of the body, it activates those nerves. So we feel tired, we feel unenergetic only when there is no energy flowing through our nerves. But the moment we do this, it activates our nerves and takes it to the next level. Now, the other thing, that the moment you keep this, is it has been proven that the moment you hold it like this, the whole body, the brain and the central nervous system, it gets activated. The brain starts to work like this. So one can say, how does this happen? This happens because these are nerve endings and they are connected to the brain. So the moment you keep it this way, the central nervous system acts balanced, and so does your brain get activated. The namaskara in the middle of the body, when you keep it like this, it brings a certain sense of balance. You should not do namaskara like this or like this, right? It should be kept like this. You should face the person to whom you're doing the namaskara and keep the body, the body, the fingers in the middle of that body. It ensures a sense of balance in our entire body. Today we often say, that person does not have balance. The reason we say that is because one part of his body, one part of his mind has got overactivated and the other part has not got activated. That is why he is not, we don't call him a balanced person. To restore that balance, central nervous system acts, and this is how it does it. This is accepted, this is proven. If you exercise normally in a gym or something, your big gym instructor will tell you that the best way to balance your central nervous system is to exercise, because the moment you exercise, your bodies and nerves and everything, muscles move in equal parts of the body. Our body, if you divide it to left and right, both parts of the body get exercised. So you're walking on the treadmill, both parts of the body will get activated equally. Similarly, the namaskara also activates both parts of our body. Our brain is supposed to have two parts, as we know, the left brain and the right brain. Keeping this body just like this relieves the stress by synchronizing the body and the brain, both the left and the right part of the brain, so that the creative part of it and the analytical part of it are moving in tandem. Now, there is another form of namaskara. What I just talked about is the namaskara that you do and you perform the namaskara. The other one is called Ashtanga Namaskara. Ashtanga means eight. Using all 8 parts of our body, we do the namaskara. This is what we typically do when we have completed the prayers and we are doing the namaskara. And the other time is when we go to temples. Now, the first thing is that an Ashtanga Namaskara should be performed after doing the Pradakshina. That means going around the deity and then doing the Namaskara. One should do this Namaskara as one is facing the deity to the left, to your left, or to the deity's right side. Let us assume that you're facing the deity like this. You should do the Namaskara from the left. Now, all 8 parts of the body should be touching the ground. Chest, the head, the eye, the feet, the hands, knees, speech, and the mind. So this is what Madhvacharya says in Krishnamrita Mahanama, where he quotes that Ashtanga Namaskara has 8 parts, and men are advised to do Ashtanga Namaskara. For the women, it's Panchanga Namaskara, because for their body type, it is advised that only 5 parts touch the floor of the body, floor on which the Namaskara is done, and not 8. It's not advised for them. They get all the benefits that we talked about by the Panchanga Namaskara itself. The Ashtanga Namaskara has got all the 8 parts. Now, it's very interesting that when you're doing Namaskara, it is a way of us paying the complete respect, complete, offering our entire body to the God and say that I'm completely at your mercy, and you need to help me, you need to energize me, and you need to support me. Otherwise, there is no point, there is no sustenance for me. So for me, you have to keep me alive. You have to give me knowledge. For everything that I do, I need your help and your support. And without you energizing me, I will not be able to do it. So that is what is the meaning of the Ashtanga Namaskara. It's a very common form of Namaskara. It is also part of the Surya Namaskara, which is actually taught as a part of yoga. You won't believe this, but Ashtanga Namaskara is one of the most popular. The Surya Namaskara, as it's known, is one of the most popular forms of exercises in the world. It's one of the most popular yogic posture that's been adopted by everybody in the world. So let us first start by looking at both the namaskaras that we did. And we look at somebody just by putting your hand and the other one being on the floor. Now, what are the medical benefits? What are the medical benefits that we see because of the Ashtanga Namaskara? The moment somebody puts his whole body weight and does the Namaskara and then wakes up, and it is advised that in a day we should do 12 Surya Namaskaras at a minimum. If we do that, it sort of activates almost all the nerves and chakras. Chakras are the body, or parts of our body where the energy is stored. So activates almost all the nerves. All the nerves get activated and the chakras get activated. The increase in the blood flow to the heart and all parts of the body. It is like a traditional push-up. So when you're doing a push-up in a gym, you know how it is. Every part of our body gets activated. That is why it's so difficult. It may look like a simple exercise, but it's difficult to do because the body, the blood rushes to every part of the body. very importantly to the heart. It is proven. Just now we discussed, the advent of the heart attack, etc., is becoming very, very common. Earlier, people suffered a heart attack only after they crossed a certain age, but today, 20-year-old, 30-year-old people are suffering from heart attack. So to prevent that, you need to have the blood flow constantly to the heart, and it has been proven that the continuous practice of yoga helps people to completely energize not just the external organs but also the internal organs, and heart is one of them, which actually runs the biggest risk in our health. So it has got the spiritual benefit, which we have discussed. It has got a physical benefit, and now we talked about uh, the the medical benefit of doing the namaskara. So this is about the benefits of namaskara that we are looking at. The other thing which precedes the namaskara is the pradakshina. That means we go all around the temple deity and we do that. Why? The deity is at the center of that energy. It is the main energy source, where it's very common. We go to a Raghavendra Mutt, we go to Mantralayam, we go to Tirupati, anywhere we go, we see the deity at the center, and there's a very strange energy which keeps coming from there. That is why we feel so happy when we go to Tirupati and look at the Lord, or we go to Mantralayam and look at the Lord there, or we go to Tanjavur temple and look at Brihadeshwara. There's an immense happiness that we get. Why? Because there's a lot of energy coming from the deity. So when we do the pradakshina, we go all around the deity in a clockwise direction. There are two reasons for this, two scientific reasons. One is that our right side is always going around the deity. That is where we absorb all our energy, from our right side, because when we go in a clockwise direction, our right side is always exposed more than our left side. It has been proven the right side is very good at taking in the energy. That is why they say always give things only with the right hand and not with the left hand, because with the thing that you're giving also goes the energy to the other person. So you should always give positive energy. So that's one. The second thing is that when you're moving close, the energy from the light is always coming to you, and you're also aligning to the direction in which the earth is rotating. The earth is rotating in a clockwise direction. Clockwise means like this, means you have to take the pradakshina. So it's like this. Why should we align to the earth's movement? It's simple. Is it easy to swim with the water, with the stream, or is it easy to swim upstream? All of us know, who have ever gone into a river, that it's easier to swim downstream. That means in the direction of the flow than other way. So the energy is moving. The magnetic energy is moving like this. So we have to align to that in around the god, with the god as a center, and we absorb that energy like this. So one may ask, why not do pradakshina like this? No, that is done. That you will go against the energy distribution that happens around the god. So that is the relevance of pradakshina. This is one of the earliest rituals that we have learned, along with the handshake and the namaskara. It is the pradakshina that comes to our mind. The other thing, which we have seen after pradakshina, etc., is done, right from the childhood, whether we do puja at home or we do puja in a temple or we go to a temple, the first thing they do is they give you tirtha, or the holy water. They give it in the hand and we drink it. The moment you drink it, you feel very nice. Oh my God, I'm really liking it. The benefit of having a tirtha is immense. So first thing is that the holy water, the water which is pure, the purest water that we can think of, is put on the idols or on the saligrama, shila, again, stone, which is the holy stone, which is again a reservoir of energy. So the moment you put the water on that, it takes that energy and it has brought that energy into that water, and it is stored. So first of all, it's not just water; it is energized water, and plus the tirtha has got number of ingredients in it. So you add a lot of ingredients, and each ingredient has got immense health benefits that we all that we are all aware of. Now I can talk about tirtha for at least 2 hours, just looking at the different benefits and the ingredients that it has. So one of the the benefits of the tirtha. So one of the biggest benefits of the tirtha is that it is stored in copper and brass, which is again, or silver utensils, which which decreases the body heat. Any water that is stored in these metals, it decreases the body heat. It helps us absorb a lot of nutrients which are there, which we eat, but we are not able to assimilate. Minerals are getting assimilated and so on. The tulasi that is there, again, I can talk about tulasi for 2 days, not 2 hours. It is one of the most widely accepted medicinal plants in the world. And at a very basic level, what it does is, if you just look at the tulasi, it has got the tonic which will help us. It will detox you from fever, cold, any kind of respiratory diseases, insect bites, and so on. It's good. There's a big list, you can read it. And it also sharpens the memory. That's why you can see people who our ancestors never forgot things. They could remember a lot of things because of the ingredients. It has got a lot of ingredients, as you know, cardamom, cloves, edible camphor, and so on. It helps in our digestion because it's anti-acidic. It's a natural antacid. It is easy to digest, unlike the syrup, the pink syrup that we drink, but that we don't consume it anymore. Some of us just drink it. So no, that's not good, because that's a medicine. It's got inorganic stuff. It has got chemical stuff. But this is something which is natural. So it helps you digest. It detoxes your body. It controls cold, flu, cancer, and blood pressure. And it relieves of toothache. It's very common because it's got yelaki or clove. It helps you to build strong teeth. And every day, all you need to do is to have, it's not even a teaspoon, it's lesser than that, 3 times before you have food and once after food. It ensures that you do not have any health related problems, right from cold, cough, fever, all the way up to cancer. It has been proven that it has a positive effect in detoxing the body. So that is the benefit of looking at the tirtha. So the tirtha, therefore, is a must-have. Everyone should have it every day in the prescribed form. Now, one of the biggest challenges for the modern day people is to wear dhoti. Um, and it is one of the simplest things to do in the world, but still people struggle. I would advise, there are a lot of YouTube uploads on how to wear dhoti or a sari. Please, those of you who are not familiar, those of you struggle, oh, should I do this or this? Watch that video, do it 3 times, then you'll realize it's as easy as wearing a jeans trouser or a tracksuit and going to the gym. So first of all, the question is, why should I wear the dhoti? It's so complicated and I don't like it. It's a very traditional thing. It makes me look like I'm very old and traditional and all of this. But the fact is, if you just look at the dhoti itself, it is coming because of a certain reason. See, every activity has got a certain uniform. When we went to school, there was a uniform. When we played, when we were sitting in the class, obviously there was a uniform. But when we played in the school, we changed our clothes to sports wear. It could be tracks and sneakers and so on, but we change. So for every activity, there is a new dress. Suppose there's a party in a 5-star hotel and you're invited, you go in a certain etiquette. Different clubs have their own etiquette, their rules. Office has got office wear. You can't wear whatever you want to the office. Now COVID times is bringing its own wear, where people are wearing formal clothes at the top of the body. Otherwise, if they're wearing shorts or they're wearing track pants or whatever is convenient to them. Mainly because the clothing that we wear should be well suited for the activity that we are indulging in. If we are in a spiritual quest, it needs to have a spiritual uniform. If it is you have to go to a gym, you should wear a gym uniform. You can't wear a panche and a dhoti and go to a gym. You're going to fall on the treadmill. It won't work. So therefore, every activity has got its own uniform, which is designed, right, to ensure that you are comfortable and you're able to do that activity properly. In the gym, for example, you cannot wear very loose-fitting clothes because you could fall and it can get stuck in any part of the exercise equipment and it can be very dangerous. So it is not advised for you to wear very, very loose fitting clothes in the gym. So the dhoti, now why is the dhoti or the sari the way it is, and why should we do that? It is because of a very simple reason. It has been proven, and it is our own experience. Our body shape and body volume is not uniform throughout the year, throughout the day, right? It might come as a surprise. Oh, what do you mean? Do I become bulky at some part of the day and I become thinner? That's true. We experience it all the time. When we eat, our volume increases. Towards some people have, because of their body constitution, the volume increases towards the night, or some people get it in the afternoon, and so on and so forth. Every day, because of our sleep cycle, because of the food that we eat, because of the activities that we do, our body volume increases and decreases slightly. Why don't we realize it very clearly? Because it's not visible. But if we are wearing the same set of clothes in the morning, evening we feel, oh no, I think I should change. I should wear into something easy. Why do we say that? Because our volume has increased, and the body, the clothes we are facing are wearing at that point in time have become very tight. So to do that, the Indian system has come up with a very simple solution, which is a sari or a dhoti. Both are open-ended. That means it's not stitched. You have to wear the cloth in a manner that suits your body at that point in time, right? So when you wear the dhoti, it takes a shape, it takes a size of your body volume at that point in time. Suppose the body size goes, you can always change it, loosen it, tighten it, which you can't do in the case of in the case when you're wearing a trouser. So when you are on a spiritual quest, like you're sitting and meditating, when you're praying, or when you're reading something deeply, it is better to be completely away from any kind of pressures which are coming, because there is a knot or something which is very tight and holding your body. So it is flexible body. Our body is flexible, so therefore the cloth also has to be flexible. It's easy to walk. If you wear the dhoti like the gentleman whom you can see in the picture, he can walk very easily, because this is the same thing like a trouser. You can walk very fast without getting entangled. It looks like that. That is largely because people are not used to it. If suddenly you decide to wear a three-piece suit, you will take a few days to get adjusted to that. Like that, dhoti is also something that you should wear, and you will get used to it over a period of time. But the benefits are immense, because of the reasons that I just mentioned. Best suited for the Indian climate, it is best suited because if it is warm, you can wear a shawl on top. You can make it's as flexible. And because most parts of India, it is humid, and I suspect in other parts of the world as well, it's very humid. When it's humid and warm, it's better to wear dhoti or a sari, because it gives complete ventilation to all parts of the body and ensure that we don't sweat. And even if there is a sweat, it gets absorbed, so that one can have that feeling of comfort. And lastly, the way this is to be worn, it ensures that the chakras or the energy points are always activated, and it keeps you alert, it keeps your brain alert, it keeps your mind alert, and helps you cope up with the situation that you're facing. So it is ideally suited for all quests, but specifically for spiritual spec. Again, it's important that you look at the dhoti or the sari. So I think it really helps you. So get used to it, learn it. It's not rocket science. I'm sure all of it, millions of people have been doing, billions of people do it. And those of us who think, oh my God, if I wear a dhoti, I don't think I can work. It's wrong, because in every part of India, from Kashmir to Kanyakumari, every farmer in India wears dhoti in slightly different styles, but again, they all wear dhoti. So once you're doing that, it is fantastic. They are able to work in a field which takes so much of effort, and if they can do it, why can't you do it? It's just about getting used to it. Now, the other thing is Aarti or Mangal Aarti. We have the holy fire which is taken around the god. Why do we do that? We do that because the whole ritual, the energy from the deity needs to come to us, and all of us know heat is a very good conductor of energy. So if you want to move that energy from there to here, the only way to do that without moving the god, which is not possible, we also cannot enter the sanctum sanctorum. That is also known. So in that circumstance, The best way to get that energy outside is using heat. And that is why you see it is done again in the clockwise direction, and that energy comes to you. There's also a spiritual significance. Each of those, there are 5 wicks or batti that is used for arti. The reason it is done is it connotes the 5 layers of our skin. So every time you're burning, it means that one day when we are all no more and our body gets burnt, we are offering our body to the God, and everything has come from Him, so everything should go back to Him. So this is a reminder for us that one day, we all those 5 layers of our skin will also be burnt like those 5 weeks, and we are offering that to the God. The other thing is our body is made up of 5 elements, panchabhutas, and offering that to the God means a complete surrender to God. So when somebody is doing Mangalarti, we should be very watchful and understand the spiritual significance. It is not something that we should be, just look at it as a ritual and say, okay, something must be happening. I don't care. I have to just finish the arti and go. No, it is our way of reliving our whole life and then offering ourselves complete at the service of God and the beautiful world that He has created around us. Again, I talked about the clockwise movement of the arati. So this is the significance of arati. The next one is the bell, the ghante, right? We say, oh my God, what is this noisy thing? I'm sleeping and then somebody is using it. That's not the reason. If you look at the ghante, it has got a very melodious tone. It has got if it is made the right way, using the right elements, it produces a unique sound, and that sound kills all the negative, takes away all the negative energy around us. It is said that in a place where the ghanta is placed, several meters in radius, there is no negative force, or the germs, etc. They get killed because of the tone. It's very common. In the missile technology, underwater, there is that sound wave which is used to destroy submarines. So similarly, all the negative energy around us will go away once the beautiful sound of the ghanta is heard. For us, it is melodious, but for the negative beings and germ, it is negative thing for them. So they just get destroyed or they move away. There are 4 energies that get dissipated. One is the shabda, that is the sound. The other one is the akshara, the specific letters of that sound. When that sound is broken down, it has got the specific akshara, and the tal, which is the unique resonance of the sound that comes in, and there is a nada, which is the shruti that is played. So there is a sound which gets manifested in 4 different ways, and all of them are manifested in the form of that lovely sound of a bell. So please ensure that you bought the right bell, because it has to be made in a particular technology. When you hear the sound, you will be able to. There's a construction which has been described in the agamas or the scriptures about how beautifully that should be made. And if the bell is as per that, it produces a unique type of sound. So I think we've learned about certain rituals. All I would like to sort of say about this is, the rituals teach us a way of life. If one wants to be free from medical issues, from spiritual problems, as well as the physical problem which manifests in the form of diseases, one has to adopt a certain way of life. So here are a few things that we all could do to ensure that we are in that spiritual state. One is wake up early. Very important to wake up early, because waking up early, there is a unique quality of oxygen which exists in early morning, which as the day goes by, it starts to deteriorate. It's common knowledge. When we want to go and take a jog, the best time to do it is 5 a.m., 5:30 a.m. One should not be doing it at 9:30 when the traffic is at its peak. So wake up early, exercise, very important. In our lives, the relevance of exercise is very high. I think this does not need too much elaboration, because all of us have sort of understood that this is needed. The third one is performing the Sandhya Vandanam, or the recitation of Gayatri Mantra thrice a day, along with a few other prayers. All of them combined is called Sandhya Vandanam. It's highly recommended that we do that. Then recitation of stotras, recitation of prayers. It's important all of us learn prayers and recite them on a regular basis. The way the recitation of the construct of the stotra is, whether it's a Vedic prayer or others, is done in such a manner that it gives automatic breathing exercise. So all of us would have heard about Harivayustati. It is the way it is constructed is you hold your breath at some times and release your breath at certain times. If you want to recite it correctly, that's the only way to do it. It's a natural breathing exercise, the natural pranayama that one has to do to recite it. So learning and recitation of stotras is an absolute must. Again, listening to positivity. It's always advisable to listen to shlokas, listen to stories of God, listen to positive stories, watching positive movies, listening to positive music. It increases the positivity. It is proven. You can see it on YouTube. There's the child inside the mother's womb. They have tried to expose it to different kinds of music. Some music which is extremely jarring, it's very noisy. The child sort of shrinks this way. The moment pleasant music is played, the child sort of opens up. Now you can see the immense impact that our environment around us has on us. Being in a place which is very noisy, being in a place which is full of negativity, being in a place which is full of dirty smell, etc., all that takes away the positivity from us. So be in a state of positivity. Engage in social work. We've always taken care of ourselves very well, but how do we take care of others? Go to nice places, tours and travels, pilgrimages, all of them, and relationships, very important. If you keep all these things positive, the spiritual rituals, etc., will make sense. And the rituals, on the other hand, actually help you to do all these things in a meaningful way. So one can say, how does a ritual help me do exercises? As I said before, if somebody performs the Devara Puja or the God's prayer in the prescribed form, he has to do Namaskara 12 times a day. And that itself means 12 Surya Namaskaras, which itself is an exercise by itself. We sit on the floor, get up several times during Sandhya Vandanam. Every time we sit and get up on the floor and again sit, our entire body is getting exercised. So it is an excellent method to keep ourselves healthy and always prosperous, even in other forms of life. Now, once you have health, you have everything that you need. Now, we've learned a little bit about a way of life. I want you to think about it and over a period of time adopt it. So many people said, okay, what does a perfect timetable look like? How does a perfect day look? So wake up early in the morning, 5 to 5:30. Then 30 minutes is waking up and exercising for a short while, at least 20 minutes. And then take a bath, you take a Sandhya Vandanam, and then you do the Devara Puja. Then 7:30 to 5:30, I presume people are going to office and listening to pravachana. Make use of every moment of your life to enrich yourself. So listen to shlokas, listen to religious discourses, even when you're driving to the office and coming back from the office. This is a very good use of your time. It keeps you calm. It helps you away from all the office-related, work-related, student life-related stresses that we all experience. Then 6 to 6:30 is the time for the evening prayer. This is like a general timetable. One can have a few variations depending on what time of the day you're free, but this is the recommended one. And 6:30 to 10 o'clock, one can have dinner, recreation, family time, do the reading and study, and ensure that people sleep early around 10:30. One should sleep because one is woken up at 5:30, so obviously he's tired. He should go to sleep. One should not make an attempt to drag his day. We all have a tendency to do that. You want to sleep at 10, then 10:30, 11, 11:30. You want to drag it till the time that we all are falling dead. That should not be the case. One should sleep on the same time, wake up at every time, and that regulates our body. Again, a trait which is seen in all high performers. They know how to relax themselves. They also know how to work extremely hard. But there is a balance in their life. They never overdo one part of their life at the cost of something else. So with that, I'd like to take a few minutes, maybe another 2-3 minutes, to go through. Sanjeev spoke at the beginning of this presentation about our great Indian country, right? The country of India and what it has given to the world, both in terms of science and architecture and other fields. So India has been is virtually been the front runner in science and spirituality, in architecture, in mathematics, in Ayurveda, which is the ancient medicine science, yoga, the topic of metallurgy, town planning, and medicine. India has always led the way. The scientific revolution happened in the 13th, 14th, 15th, and 17th centuries in India, in the world, whereas in India, this had happened thousands of years back. And we can see some glimpses of that excellence that Indian science had in the world all the time. So let me show you some glimpses of that, about how India has led the future. So the first one is architecture. So this picture that you see is of the famous Brihadeshwara temple in Tanjore, right? It was built in 1 BC. Now, when I saw that at the entrance of the temple, I was shocked seeing how such a massive temple was built in 1 BC, where there was no architecture, there was no concept of mathematics, or so we thought. But it is very clear to us that they had these concepts very back then when this was being built. So this temple, you can see on top, I put a circle around the top of that hill. That hill, or the top of the temple, there is a single stone which weighs 200 tons. Now, how did they keep that of that single stone, which was 200 tons? How did they keep it on top? There were no cranes. There was no way to hoist it up there. So how did they move it? Then it transpires, when people researched, they found that they had actually built a ramp all the way, which left several kilometers, and using elephants and people and so on, they rolled up that particular stone all the way up to the top, and it was installed over there. What a architectural marvel the temple is, and it stands tall, stands strong despite so many years. One look at the temple will tell you that it's a very old temple, because when you see it, all the rough edges have become very smooth because of the air erosion. So you can imagine how old the temple must be. So it was right there, and so the moment I saw it, there was a question in my mind: how did they calculate the distance that the ramp has to be built to, if they did not know trigonometry? And then it transpires that they did know trigonometry. It was called trigonometry, and the word called trigonometry actually came from the word trigonometry. And there are pictures of this available on the temple itself. They've inscribed how they calculated it. So you can imagine it was at the cutting edge of architecture, even of this. And there are several things that are there. Look at this temple, this corridor of the famous Rameshwaram temple. It's got the longest yard. And you see the mathematics they've used to calculate each of these pillars is identical. How could they do that if they did not know mathematics? India gave the world the concept of zero, and the concept of a circle with a center was given by India. And the Indian mathematics was way, way, way ahead of the mathematics that even today we are not able to see. Even today, it's very common that the buildings which are built few decades back are collapsing right in front of our eyes. But that's not the case with these temples, which have been survived again, the test of time. There's a beautiful temple there. If you go to the Tanjore temple again, the left one, you see a picture right now. There are two bells. The bell on the left is the famous Philadelphia Independence Bell, which was built by America when they got independence. So when they got independence, they said we should have a bell to commemorate that. and we will ring that bell when we get independence. So they did that, and on the day that India, America got independence, July 4th, they rang the bell and the bell broke. And they say, oh my God, the bell broke, so we need to make another bell. And they did. And finally, they said, look, this bell is going to break, so let's make the bell and not ring it. Just let it be there. Even today, the bell is there in Philadelphia. It's a big tourist spot where thousands of people probably visit that to watch this small bell, which is roughly about a meter and a half. Look at the bell on the right side. That's a bell which was built in the Tanjore temple in 1 BC. It's a massive bell which is the size of almost 10 to 15 feet. And do you know how many times it is rung every single day? 150 times at least. So since 1 BC, since the time building of the temple, the bell is being rung 150 times every day, and it is as strong, as beautiful, and it's got that unique tone that even several kilometers away from the temple, you can hear this great bell ringing. Again, showing how good India was on the topic of metallurgy. I would like to quickly talk about the other thing, which is about construction. You can see the temples which are there. Construction, if you look at the temple stones, they were kept next to each other like this. Look at the gap. There's no gap between the two pieces of stone. It's almost like they're just butted and there's nothing in between. What is that stuff that they have used? What is the adhesive that they have used to keep these two stones in place is something we still don't know, because when you actually pull it out, there is a small filling, and we still have not understood the constituency of that incomplete. There is no cement. Remember, there was no cement in those days, but they used an adhesive which is so strong that the stones have not moved even a centimeter. Similarly, of course, there is stuff on the town planning part of it. When large towns, but in India, were actually built on that on very, very sophisticated plans of Takshashila, Nalanda, and Harappa and Mohenjo-daro were built way, way back. Again, showing that people at that time had a very good understanding of science and technology. So India is being at the forefront of spirituality, of science, and of medicine. Again, medicine, of course, is a part of science, but Ayurvedic medicines today are known worldwide. Majority of the people in many countries are switching over to the topic of Ayurveda, mainly because of its excellent impact and the fact that it is non-toxic and it has no side effect. So yes, one can talk about it tomorrow morning about what are all the the great advantages and what are the great achievements India has. So that system of India has actually got us this situation. So every ritual, everything that they have done in the past, and which our scriptures get so beautifully, are based on these scriptures. So let us make the best use of the scriptures, understand the meaning. So in summary, what I would like to say are um, understand the meaning, spiritual, and the scientific significance of every ritual. There are experts in that field whom we should talk to about and understand why do we do these things. And once we do this, once we see it, experience it ourselves, it becomes, we will not give it up because it's giving us a benefit. If somebody tell you wake up at 5 o'clock and go for a walk, nobody will do it. But if they know what are the advantages of doing it, and once they start doing, they experience those advantages, they're not willing to give up, right? And they not only do they do it, they advise everybody around them to do it. So always understand the meaning. Please do not do anything blindly, because then with that, our conviction will be poor. Every ritual, every process has an expert. You can't go to a gym and start lifting weights like this. You will have a muscle tear and end up with a fracture. But if you want to perform rituals, it has to be learned from experts. So rituals are also activities. There is a manner in which we talked about Mangalarti. One should not hold the Mangalarti like this. It should be held only with the fingers, right? It's just the fingers. Why? Because it's again the energy tip, and the goddess Mahalakshmi is there at the edges of our fingers. She resides there. So Karagre Vasate Lakshmi. So you should hold the Mangalarti like this. So even small things make a difference, and we should always perform these rituals knowing those aspects. Follow the right procedure to perform. Once you've learned it, follow that procedure. Let us say somebody is going to the gym. He says, okay, great, after lunch I'm energized, I will go and work out in the gym. What happens if you start exercising immediately after having lunch? You will throw up everything, you'll have a vomiting sensation, and that's not the time to actually perform the exercises. There's a prescribed time, there's a prescribed method, and a prescribed place for everything that we do. So the same thing goes with rituals also. Once we have learned it ourselves, teach others the correct procedure. If you see someone doing it a wrong way, it is good to share why it should be done in a different way or the correct way, and share why it should be done with them. Once you are convinced, and once they are convinced about that, they will start doing it in the right way. So these are things that I would request everybody on this call to actually start doing. And the rituals have a profound meaning. Let's make an attempt to understand them and not do them blindly. So with that, Sanjeev, over to you. I've completed whatever I wanted to present. Thanks for the immense opportunity by everyone, Chinmaya and Sanjeev, and in the entire Raghavendra Mutt in Melbourne. I'm given to understand that this is the first Mutt which is the official branch of Sri Raghavendra Swamy Mutt in Mantralayam, and by the grace of our Swamiji, it has actually gone to Melbourne, and I'm sure you'll find this will evolve into one of the biggest spiritual centers, not just for Indians, but for everybody who is there, and everybody will benefit from the new spiritual center, which I hope keeps coming up. And I visit Australia, at least 3 or 4 times a year. Sorry, because our company regional headquarters is based in Sydney. So I look forward to a future opportunity to visit the Mutt and hopefully meet all of you sometime in person. And I must congratulate each one of you who has taken an active part in the Navaratri celebrations. This, I believe, is the 8th day, and tomorrow you're going to be having lectures and other cultural activities. So thank you once again, and I'm now open to questions and answers.
Indeed. Thank you so very much, Dr. Sunder, for enlightening us on so many different topics. I think, as you rightly said, somehow, firstly, the term and the concept of ritual itself, you clarified that for us. In fact, there is a question on it, which we will come to it soon. You clarified that ritual does not necessarily mean something that is very religious in that sense, although it does get affiliated to religion quite frequently. But it is just a few things that we have customarily learned and do, just as second nature, probably. And with after this session, it's kind of clarified a lot of these points for us in our minds. So once again, thank you so very much for that. We have been receiving quite a few questions through different forums, on Facebook comments as well, and through different watch parties, etc. So we'll try to cover as many as we can, given the time today. But the way I would like to go about it is to start with, I will at least try to position one question from everybody. There are multiple questions that a same person has asked. So in the interest of time, we'll give a chance to get everybody's question covered and then come to the second question. So, Sundarji, what I'll do is I will read out the question as well, but I'll also try to flash it on the screen here so that you can get to know which one we are referring to. The first question comes from Shri Vasant Karama. A very interesting question, which says, how do we differentiate happiness between what our mind believes and what our soul needs?
Okay. So, whatever the soul needs is always the right set of happiness, right? Because we have two parts of our body. One is our soul and the other one is our physical body. The physical body is always craving for temporary happiness, right? For example, let us say there is a sweet, or there is some fried food or some junk food. Our body always craves for that because it gives that body instant gratification. We feel happy for some time. Then we start regretting, oh, I should not have had it because it's not good for my health and all of that. So whatever gives us total happiness, happiness is something, first of all, which has to come from inside. And for that to happen, there are only certain things that can give you that internal happiness. And that's got nothing to do with the outside world. It has got nothing to do with what someone else thinks. You're not waiting for a validation coming from anyone, whether that what should give you happiness. If the happiness is something that comes from inside, that is true happiness, because that is the happiness your soul is seeking. How do we get that happiness? Is through knowledge and pursuit of that knowledge, right? Our body, the food for our body is the material food that we eat. We eat minerals, vitamins, carbohydrates in different forms, and that sort of provides the nutrition our body needs. What is the nutrition for our soul? Is knowledge, and that knowledge, which is spiritual knowledge, enriches our soul. Knowledge in any form enriches our soul, but spiritual knowledge enhances it even more. So let us say you were working on a puzzle and suddenly you crack the puzzle. There is an elation that you feel, which you don't find it if you eat a burger, right? It's a happiness of the inside. I always think about it. Look at a Wimbledon game. There's a player. The moment he wins the Wimbledon, he looks up. Have you seen all of them? They all look up. Where are they looking up? It's the sky on top, right? Whom are you looking at? You are immediately connecting in that state of happiness. You are connecting to the highest energy soul, and whether you know it or not, you're actually thanking them, thanking that source for all the energy that it has given. So that is the difference between the happiness that we feel into our body, which is through external means, which is also good, but that is temporary, and that's not going to give us this state of bliss. So the question that she has asked is, what is the difference? The difference is in that its level of permanence. This is the worldly happiness that we get is temporary. It goes. You bought a car, fine, great. One day you feel happy. Next day already you're slightly less happy. Third day you're even less happy. Fourth day you have somebody comes and dents the car a little bit. You are even more unhappy. And slowly from happiness you move into a state of almost sorrow because of that car, right? What you thought will give you eternal happiness. Okay. Once I buy that beautiful Mercedes car, I'm going to be happy. But if Mercedes cars were to give happiness, then a lot of people in the world would have been super, super happy just by owning the car, which is not the case, as we know.
Indeed, absolutely. So that's a very pertinent and a right response you've given. Let's move to the next question. This is from Sandhya Chandraji, which you can see on your screen. The question says, it's an interesting question because based on how when this question was asked, probably you were still in the midst of your presentation. So I'm assuming that few points might be answered, but I believe it's still a pertinent one. Because rituals are not only good for life in this birth, because it gives us a lot of disciplined life and we saw the benefits of it. But does it also help us in the next Janma? It's a loaded question because it also ties to the aspect of having rebirth, which also probably needs a scientific explanation.
Yes, so I think the Hinduism clearly talks about the fact that there is rebirth, and whatever we store. And this is very clear. Krishna says that in the Gita, that the knowledge is the only thing which gets stored in our soul. When the soul moves from one birth to the other, one body to the other, it carries with it only the knowledge that we have. Now, one may say, "Oh, how do I believe all this? This doesn't look like great. Something I can believe." It's very simple. I'm sure you have seen children being born in your house, right? The neighbor's children, your children, the family, your own children. All children are not the same. Some children are born with a higher level of knowledge. You've heard about prodigies. There are some people who can sing beautifully at the age of 5, and there are people who are at 75 years. They still, they can't sing. How did they get that knowledge? How did they have that, head start over others in terms of some knowledge that they already had? What do we say? No, the child, it's in its nature. The person, the girl is a natural singer. How do we say natural? How did that person suddenly become natural? There must have been some energy, that knowledge, which is stored beforehand, which is now manifesting in this form. Forget about everything. The newborn child, who we think doesn't know anything, knows a lot of things. It knows that it has to cry whenever it wants food. Who taught the child? Right? There is an instinct that the child needs. Who gave that boy, the child, the instinct? How does a child know how to drink milk? The newborn child knows how to drink milk. How did the child know that? How did it know how to swallow the milk? How to suck the milk? How does it know? All of that. If the concept of knowledge in resident in our soul is not accepted, how will we explain this phenomenon? We are talking only about human beings. Look at animals. The instinct that animals have is tremendously high. Sometimes, look at a deer. The moment the deer is delivered, it just jumps out. And you know what it does? You would have seen videos of that in National Geographic. It just runs away to all its place. Whereas a human child cannot walk till at least it's 9 months to a year old. So, long story short, I think the concept of rebirth is very much evident in front of our eyes. We don't need any more proof. We are able to see it, that the child has a resident knowledge in it when it's born. And that can come only because of the fact that the child had, the soul had it trapped like a small USB drive in it when it was born. So yes, because the ultimate aim of every spiritual quest is gaining knowledge. So when we do meditation, what happens? Two things happen. Our mind becomes calm. Second, we are able to assimilate whatever we have learned. Whether we like it or not, our mind sort of crunches all the information since the morning, and it is able to process that information. That information is slowly turned. The information gets converted to knowledge. That knowledge then gets converted to insights. That insight then gets converted into wisdom, and that is the process. So every spiritual process that is there, helps us take one step ahead towards the understanding and assimilation of that spiritual knowledge. So definitely it is something that will help not only in this but in the births later as well. It's very important.
Absolutely. Thank you. In fact, the point that you were just mentioning about the USB drive kind of validates my own thought of how I sometimes look at rebirth and the whole concept of child prodigy, etc. Is that sometimes we have epiphany moments, where suddenly something strikes to you, or suddenly you become adept at something, you learn something very fast. I feel that it's like you suddenly getting a password to some, on cloud storage drive, which until now you had no idea. You suddenly got it, and now you have all the information. But that just maybe the dumb way in which I think.
No, it's not dumb. It's actually what is happening according to me is that as we are understanding science better, we are able to understand spirituality better. Because certain concepts, if we had told you or told anyone that there is so much of knowledge can be packed in a small place like our soul, nobody would have believed it. But today, as the storage, the physical size of storage devices across the world keeps on coming down, people are now able to understand. Oh my God, this is a fantastic device which can store so many videos. Look at how much of GB is stored here. Can you imagine how much of GB is stored in your brain? And can you show me the size of your brain? By that size, what should have been the size of the brain? Right? It should have been the size of your house. Look at the amount of video knowledge that you kept in your house. Let us recollect the first day we all went to school. The path to our school. Don't we all remember that even now?
Yes.
In video form. If
Absolutely.
I were to leave you 1 kilometer away from your school, which you went when you were in first standard, you can get to that school. That means it's stored in your memory. How did you get there? Using gigabytes of data. the day you went to college, the day you graduated, the day of your marriage. Does anybody forget all that? The amount of memory that we have, of colors, of music, of sound, of words, of whatever we have read, right? Look at the amount of the information that's packed in our brain. Look at how much of knowledge a doctor has. Look at how, for example, when he's performing cardio surgery, the amount of knowledge that he has to have beforehand. Can he look at a book and say, oh, sorry, I forgot how to do this, and in the middle of a surgery start searching? No, he has that packed in his mind, that expertise, not just in his brain, but also in the kinesthetic intelligence in his hands. Some of us struggle to cut a vegetable, but look at the way they operate on the brain, which is so sensitive. 1 millimeter can cause a big change and to the impact of and the outcome of a surgery. But they're able to do it so easily. Why? Because of the tremendous amount of knowledge which is there in the brain and the fingers, and the kinesthetic intelligence which comes with that. Look at a sportsman. Well, there are people who can spin the ball. We love cricket, right? So we spin the ball. They got that intelligence of how to use their muscles in a very unique way. All that is stored in us. So that is what our Shastras call samskara. That means stored knowledge coming from previous birth.
What a beautiful explanation. Thank you. Thank you so much. Moving on to the next question by Archana ji, and I think a very pertinent one for all of us. You talked about a lot of things that the kids learn. I wish there was some way in which they could just learn all these things also with some switch of a button, because it's really difficult to convince current age kids who are studying and being exposed to life in a different way than most of us did. And to be honest, even when we were exposed to all this growing up, we did not have as much of an affiliation to all this until probably we grew up. At least hand on heart, I can say that for myself. Don't feel proud about it, but that's how it has been. So how do we convince the current day kids who see things only from a scientific angle and assume all these rituals to be very old fashioned?
See, I think the first thing I would suggest is that we should start early on everything, right? Like the way we taught our children the number system, the languages that they have to learn, the different aspects of social studies and everything at an early age. From first standard itself, they started learning this. So like this, make it a point to get them to learn when they were young, because when they're young, they are more open to learning. They can learn anything very fast. So don't start all this when people are extremely prejudiced. It's because it's difficult to overcome prejudice. If somebody is 25 or 30, 40, it becomes difficult to change their mind because there is a bias. One can teach somebody who is open on anything they want. But if somebody is biased, then everything looks like something that they don't believe in. So that's the number one thing. Start early. Second thing is, because you're talking to kids, they will ask you questions. They will ask you questions like the way they ask questions everywhere else. Now, there are two methods. One is that if the child is asking you, when you don't know the answer, what happens is we give an answer saying, just shut up and do it. I'm telling you to do it. It is the right way. Everybody has done it, so you should also do it. That's not a thing that that convinces children. They might do it out of compulsion, but internally they're not convinced. So first of all, if a child asks a question and you know the answer or don't know the answer, if you know the answer, great, give the answer, explain slowly, gradually, and they will be convinced. Especially when you talk to them, show them things with visuals, it makes a very big impact, right? Third thing, if you don't know, is I think you should take them to an expert. There are a lot of scholars, there are a lot of books written today which talk about the scientific nature of our rituals. See, nobody believed in the Indian form of meditation. Till today, people are convinced today that that is the best form of meditation anywhere in the world. It's highly prescribed about the way Hindu and Buddhist meditation has become very, very popular across the world. I can say the same thing about yoga, right? Nobody believed in yoga till it became popular. People started using it. practicing yoga, and today it is a worldwide phenomenon, right? There is no international day of gymnastics. There is no international day for aerobics. There is no international day for Zumba, but there is an international day for yoga, which is probably more popular today outside of India than inside India. So I think one should explain the children in a very patient way, and if you're not able to do it, put them in front of experts for them to answer that question in their own way. There are a lot of books written on this topic, as I mentioned, which are available, which are in English, which mention how the rituals have a deep impact. I can share those links that you can probably share with others as well about what is the scientific relevance of these rituals.
Absolutely. I think one point that you said is like 100% right. Go to the experts at all times. And I think as a parent, I can very confidently say one thing, that if I want my child to do something, it's probably better that I ask somebody else to tell that to her, because if I tell her, it's not going to happen. So it's always better that an expert tells them.
It's always used as a reason against homeschooling as well. So it's not just this, everything else as well. The kids do have a question and tendency to question, and we should answer it equally well. Yeah.
Absolutely. Thank you. Moving on to the next question by Sudarshan ji. Very interesting question, because if we look at any of our stotras or our mantras, rather, I'm sorry if I'm using the term interchangeably, but they do come with a falastuti, which tells what happens if you do this. More often than not, they are in a way that people are hopefully prompted to do that more often, to say the mantra or to follow the ritual, etc. So the question is this something that has always been there in the scriptures, or this is some interpretation of modern gurus which then got added to it? Modern as in not like our current times, but the recent past.
No, so that's a very good question. I must first say that. Now, the rituals, when they are performed, the primary goal in which the scriptures sort of describe them is to get a spiritual result or a spiritual benefit. So that gets the precedence over everything. So, moment you talk about Vishnu Sahasranama, there is a Panashruti which is attached to it about what are the spiritual gains that one will give. But it's interesting, the Panashruti invariably also mentions non-spiritual activity benefits as well, like physical benefits, like economic benefits. That's not a spiritual. Those are more like aids for a spiritual quest, but are important in our life. All of us need a sense of physical well-being. If somebody is not well, the sadhana or the spiritual quest cannot happen. So it recognizes, our shastras recognize these as part of our life and not something that one needs to run away from. However, we should be careful not to let that aspect, the economic success, etc., to take precedence over everything else, and then look at rituals only as some kind of an ATM, which constantly keeps giving us, economic and financial well-being. The primary purpose is spiritual, so always the spiritual phala or the result is taking a precedence. Coming to the second part of the question, this has not been added. It has been, it finds its place in other parts of the scriptures, not exactly there. I'll give you an example. Ayurveda has got a text called Sushruta Samhita, which is the collection written by the people who invented or who started the aspect of Ayurveda. Ayurveda has its genesis in the Vedas. That is Ayurveda. That means it has got something to do with Ayu, or our physical well-being and our longevity. So when we're doing that, it mentions the spiritual quest also giving the medical benefit. So when you're doing the puja, in the Deva Puja Paddhati, they talk about how to make the tirtha, correct? How to get that holy water. How do they do that? What all has to get added? How much should be added is very clearly described there in a spiritual way. The same thing finds its place in the Sushruta Samhita in the terms of what are the ingredients which are used, and if you use that in the tirtha, what are the medical benefits that you get. So it has not been added there. It was added by people. It is very much existent. It is just that in the common, in the new world, people have opened up this much the activity that much more and explained that aspect to so that everybody understands it in today's parlance. Let me give you another example. Temple, the construction of the temple. How should that be done? There is a spiritual explanation which is there, which is mentioned. The Agama Shastras, on the other hand, describe it only from a physical perspective, looking at what are the physical benefits that you will get if the construction of the house or the construction of a temple is done in a particular way. What we call as Vastu Shastra is Agama Shastra when it comes to temples. It has to be built in a particular way. It's very common knowledge. Even in peak summer, 45 degrees Celsius outside, if you enter a temple, especially the ancient temples, immediately you will feel that cold. It becomes cold. Why? Because it has been designed in a certain way. The way the pillars are, the way the main door is, the way the wind blows, it is given. It automatically creates that impact of an air conditioned chamber. For this, we don't need any science. You go inside a traditional temple, you will realize how cold it is, despite the fact that it is very, very warm outside. Similarly, it balances. If it is very cold outside, you feel comfortable even inside. Again, a benefit that the air conditioning provides. So it was not added as an afterthought. It is very much there. There has been more effort in the recent times to understand this and bring it out more. That's all I can say, because our scriptures are really vast, and different aspects have got highlighted at different points in time.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Sundarji. Firstly, I just want to check, I think from a time perspective, we didn't realize how the 1.5 hours have gone. There are still quite a few questions. Would you be okay to continue for a little extra time?
Sure. We can do that.
Thank you.
And
I hope our
people in Australia, so I'm just cognizant of that. I'm doing good today. Yeah.
No, absolutely. We have a long weekend here, so we have no problem whatsoever. There are a couple more questions, so I'll try to cover as many as I can in a one-by-one basis. The next question is from Rajaprakash ji, and he, again, a very pertinent question. I think there is always this conundrum or a confusion in our mind that, how do we go about this everyday routine that we have and the spiritual aspect of the sadhana that we have to do, the prescribed ones. So, for example, it is recommended that all our spiritual sadhana, our sandhyavandanam, our daily puja should be done on an empty stomach, no water, anything. And at the same time, you have to do your exercise in the morning as well. And if you try to do that without water, there goes your sadhana. So how do you balance these two?
So, it must be interesting, and many of you people would know. Sumatra Vijaya mentions the daily routine of Madhvacharya, and it clearly mentioned that he used to do exercises in the morning. Now, from a practical perspective, what I would advise is light exercises in the morning, about 15 to 20 minutes, not too heavy, because then that's when you will get dehydrated and so on, and then move to performing your early morning prayers and meditation. It is not advisable to do very heavy exercises in the morning, even as per the Ayurvedic principles. And have heavy exercises like going to a gym and working out for an hour or so in the evening, later in the evening, so that you don't fall into this kind of a conflict. Early in the morning, our mind is very, very, very fresh. That is the time that you would like to use the time to do the best that you want. Give it time for the best activity and high priority item. Let us say a student has got an exam. He wakes up first thing in the morning, and what is top of mind for him? Oh my God, I've got to write an exam. So let me study one last time before I go to the exam. So whatever is top priority for us, we should focus our mind on that activity first thing in the morning. Once somebody sleeps, all the physical strain is removed. The mental strain is removed. All the previous day's stresses have all got settled. You wake up in the morning, it's like that still pure water which is there on top. Even a slush, if you leave it for some time, all the dust gets settled and you still have the fresh water on top. So that's the state of our mind. At that point in time, I would highly recommend that you take up spiritual quest, because that's the time when you're getting connected to the higher source of strength. You're energizing your body. So before you do anything, you need to be in top mental frame of mind to go and achieve whatever you want throughout the day. Your mindset is positive, your body gets energized, because early in the morning, all your negative anxiety and worry, sorrow, everything has for now been settled. You are connected to the supreme being. You have told the supreme being that whatever happens today, boss, it's your responsibility, it's not my responsibility. And then you are totally free to do whatever you want, and that gives you a tremendous amount of motivation to do whatever you want. So use the time for that. But before you before you take a bath, definitely 15 to 20 minutes of exercises are recommended to stretch your body, so that you can start the day with an excellent physical warm up as well as a great spiritual warm up. And towards evening, you could preferably do that. So nothing will get affected. All these things, you can stick to the rules of each of these things. How do you work out in them? I agree. If you're working out in a gym and not drinking water, then you can't probably do that effectively. And at the same time, a spiritual activity typically needs to be done empty stomach, without having anything, because the moment you start eating anything, your body starts getting activated. The moment your body starts getting activated, your brain starts getting activated. You want it to be in a state of total rest when you're pursuing a meditation. Yes, Sanjeev, I think you're on mute.
Yes, indeed. The most common term of 2020, isn't it? I'm sorry, I was speaking on mute.
I think can you see my screen?
Can you see? Okay, there you go. Maybe the second favorite. So one question from my side, though, related to this question itself, if I may. Doctors do recommend very highly, and they suggest that 1 or 2 glasses of warm water on an empty stomach first thing in the morning has a very strong medical and a benefit to the body. What do you say of that? I mean, from a spiritual or a ritualistic perspective, is it very wrong if I have a glass of water before I do my daily puja?
So this is exactly what is, if you see the spiritual flow of the spiritual activities, the first thing that is done, recommended, is doing achamana, correct? We put water in our palm and then drink it. This is precisely to give you that impact, right? So what happens is, if you see, even if you just touch the middle of your palm, it's always warm. So when you keep that water there and drink it, the water is always warm. It is never cold. That's one. So it gives us two benefits. It gives us the benefit of drinking that water that you just mentioned. We do achamana several times in during the spiritual process. Men do it, women do it, everybody has to do it. So they do that. So the achamana is done like that. So all the warm water sort of goes inside. Second thing is that this part, it is always hot. It's the nature of this part where heat sort of accumulates. So the moment you put water there, it cools that water. It cools that part, and it takes down your body temperature. This part is also one of the chakras, main chakras of our body is here to activate that. The only way to do that is to put something cold in it, which is water. So water which is stored always will be cold. It's common knowledge. And that when you put it here, it becomes warm. You drink that, that water which is slightly warm. It won't be boiling, but it will be warm. That you have it, and then you can continue with your spiritual quest with the same purity that you have before you drink anything. So that's the way to do this.
Oh, what a beautiful answer. Thank you so very much, Dr. Sunder. You clarified my doubt for sure. And if you're probably like me, you would have been touching your palm to see if it's still warm. I did it a couple of times now. Moving over to the next question from Jay. Not very specifically towards ritual, but a very, very interesting question. Do you believe that spiritual activities help you become more self-aware, both personally and professionally? And if so, how does spiritual activity help one become self-aware?
Yeah.
Very deep question.
Yes. So if you look at anybody, any top performer today, it could be a cricket player, it could be a CEO of a company. They have coaches who help them, of course, keep them physically fit. They also have professional coaches who tell them how they should think on business or how they should play their game. But very interestingly, recently it's a phenomenon which has been happening for last 10-15 years. Many of these top performers also have spiritual coaches, people who help them keep their mind in a positive frame of mind. So to your question that do you believe spiritual activity help you become self-aware and both personally and professionally? The answer is absolutely yes. Because when I talk to you about the spiritual process and how it gives you time for contemplation, the moment you think about spirituality, what is the picture that comes in your mind? Somebody sitting in meditating, correct? The moment you do that, the moment you perform all these rituals which I talked about, they restore that sense of balance in your being, and you become aware. When do you become aware of your challenges? When do you become aware of yourself? When do you become aware of the surroundings around you? When you are in a state of quietude. So I can personally say from my own experiences that a lot of things about me I have got only when I've been on a spiritual quest, because our mind is like that. Our mind is not able to solve certain problems. It needs energy coming from some other source, right? So when you're trying to push a car, if one person is pushing the car, it won't move. So it needs 2-3 people to come and push the car. Similarly, our mind is also like that. There are certain issues that we can't solve for ourselves, and that is when we need a higher source of energy. When you are in that state of contemplation, you get that energy, you get that insight coming from you. That is why in Bhagavata there is a beautiful shloka which says yo anta pravishya mama vachami mam prasuptam, where Dhruva, one of the greatest devotees of Lord Vishnu, he looks at God, but he's not able to speak. Till very recently, he was speaking eloquently, but today he becomes tongue tied. And that is when the Lord comes and energizes him, and he is able to speak. So he uses the word yo anta pravishya mama vacha. That means, please enter my body and energize me to talk. So even to talk, we need God's help, right? You would have seen some people are unfortunately dumb. They can't speak. It is not that they don't have a tongue. They have it, but they still cannot speak words. Similarly, if a person who's blind, it's not that they don't have eyes. The eyes look perfectly normal, but they don't have the inner power to be able to see. Similarly, somebody who's deaf, they have the ears. It's not that they don't have ears. The oral nerves are not activated. So no matter what is done externally, it doesn't help. So we all need energy coming from inside. Where do we get it? From God, who is there inside us, who energizes us, right? So this kind of a spiritual help really helps us on our spiritual side, and of course on our professional side as well. People who are spiritually inclined are great leaders because they can think with clarity. They take everybody along. Wherever they go, they are energizing people, right? So while they are great at the spiritual quest, they're also very good at professionally. There is a very famous um, urologist in India, one of the very famous persons. And I was speaking to him recently, and he was telling me that he starts his day by meditating at 3:30 in the morning. He meditates for 3 hours every day before he goes to to his hospital. So I asked him how why does he do and pray for 3 hours? He said, I need energy because all unfortunately all my patients are cancer patients. They have cancer in kidney or other parts of the urinary system. So I have to cure them. If I have to cure them of cancer, I need energy, and I pray every day to give for God to give me energy and also my patients the energy to be able to come out of this. So his touch, therefore, is not his touch; it's God touch which is working. He's one of the most successful urologists in the country, and this is what he had to say. So everybody, whether it's a sports person, whether it is a CEO of a company or a leader or a student, an extremely successful student, they all have a spiritual side to it. Our famous Pejawar Swamiji, who entered the Vrindavana just last year, is one such example that we've all seen in our lives. And so we are so fortunate to see how a person who's so spiritual can also be so energizing. The person could work 24 hours a day, even at the age of 88 years, and and not only energize himself, but energize thousands of people around him. So when I used to meet him, I used to tell him that when today's kids, they feel weak, their mother give them some health drink, some Horlicks or Bournvita or Boost. These are the brands which are available in India. I'm sure you have something like that in Australia. But instead of that, if they think about you once, they will get all the energy. Because somebody at 88, how can he have that energy to do whatever he wanted without tiring throughout the day? So the spiritual energy helps you personally, professionally, socially, and in every possible way you can think of. We are all talking on the platform of Sri Raghavendra Swamiji. Classic example, a person who, for the best part of his life, of his youth, did not even have 2 square meals a day. How did he grow to be such a strong person that not only when he was alive, but 370 years after he entered the Vrindavana, he's still continuing to give energy to everybody? Why are we all talking here on the Sri Raghavendra Swamiji platform? Because of the fact that the energy that he gave, because of his spiritual quest and the lovely granthas that he has left for all of us to study. So we don't need any more example than him, who is right up in the banner there.
Absolutely. What a beautiful example that you gave, ending with Raghavendra Swamiji. And also that really answers the question that only through such spiritual quest, and I think last week, as part of our Adhikamasa series of Gnanakarya, we learned about the path of bhakti and how that leads us towards mukti. And one of the most essential activities for mukti is to have that self-realization. And only the spiritual path or the bhakti path can lead us towards that self-awareness in the purest sense, if I may say that. The next question is from Vivek Ayerji. A very pertinent question, and I'll tell you why after you answer the question. But the question says, does the practice of fine arts, for example, singing, dancing, painting, or any other such fine art, elevate the soul just as much as a religious yajna would do? Because when we think of, something good happening or some good thing should happen, the first thing we do is some yajna or some puja or something like that. But can a yajna of different sort through this performing arts also be of similar stature? Is there any way to compare them in value?
The way our scriptures and our shastras are look at life in all its aspect is that every aspect of our life, anything that we do, is a spiritual process. There is no place for anything which is not spiritual in our lives, right? We have all studied a lot of scriptures where it is mentioned. Even if somebody is cutting, is a butcher, and that is what he's supposed to do as a part of his vritti or his job. Even that is a spiritual activity. So that's an extreme example. So everything that we do is a spiritual quest. So fine arts, again, Sangeeta is Samgita, means Samyak Gita. That means a comprehensive song. So as we know, all the composers that we know, Sri Purandara Dasa, Vijay Dasa, Gopala Dasaru, Jagannath Dasu, and a big, rich lineage which is there all over India of great composers. All of them had a very, very strong spiritual side to that. And even the act of dance, the classical dance forms, they're all rooted in showing and depicting the scriptures in that form, so that it is attractive. It is something that goes with music, and people are able to internalize it better by looking at different things. So some people are, as we know, they're auditorators, some people are visualizers. So looking at all of that clearly helps them to imbibe that activity. So to that extent, yes, they are all spiritual processes. But what I would say that, can it be elevated to the same stage? The answer, I think, goes back to what is our mindset. If our mindset is right, anything that we do is a spiritual process. But if our mindset is not right, even while sitting in the sanctum sanctorum of a temple, one can be having very evil thoughts in our mind. That's because that's how we are by nature, and that's how we have imagined our life. So I think whether it can be elevated, the answer technically is yes. But the challenge is it's much easier to to take up a spiritual quest in the form of a yagna or doing a sandhya vandanam or puja, because these activities are naturally tuned towards getting us to that spiritual state. If somebody can achieve it using music and other forms, they should supplement that with these forms as well, because it is something that comes naturally. So for example, some people feel very spiritual only when they sing. When they sing, they can go into that state of mind very easily. So I think they should use that music as an aid to reach that state. So Sarvadeva Namaskaraha Keshavam Pratigachati. That means Namaskara of all forms will ultimately go to God, will reach Him. So if we look at every activity that one does as something which is a spiritual quest, then everything that one does is Namaskara, right? Purandadasa says in his famous song, Hodi Nagari Mele Kaya. That means you hit the drums with your hand, saying Shripati Purandara Vithalane Paranendu. Chant the glories of God by beating on the drums. Chant the glory of God when somebody is getting water from the river. Taraka Bindige Naneri Pogovin. So that means everywhere, every activity of our life was looked at by the Haridasas, by the great masters, as a spiritual activity. So where is the question of something being spiritual and non-spiritual? Everything is God's service. But it's very important to be in that state that this is not my work. It is Naham Karta, Hari Karta. I am not doing it. God is doing it. And whatever I do, Tat Puja Karma Chakilam. It says whatever I do is Tat Puja. That means it's a puja. It's a prayer that I'm doing. So there is no difference technically between anything that we do. But having said that, the only thing I would say is that it is much easier and much faster to go into a spiritual state in the prescribed form of the things like Sandhya Vandanam, etc., and perform the art forms to supplement that. One last thing I would say that as each of us has a niyata karma, that means there are certain rituals one has to perform in that spiritual quest. So those are mandatory. So those have to be performed at least to the minimum level before one goes to other forms of sadhana. So one cannot remain without, I will not say any prayer morning, I will get up and immediately, start practicing a dance form is fine. But at the right time, they have to also perform their niyata karma, or the karma that they have to perform every single day. It's mandatory in that sense. Again, mandatory only for people who want to be happy and want to seek that state of bliss.
Absolutely. I think the way you explained that point about getting into that deep state of probably that connectedness when you're a part of the yagna, or as a part of the puja, when you get into that zone, and as you rightly said, anything that takes you to that zone, if you feel that your own form of art will take you there, musicians when they're doing their practice, or their riyaz, as they call it in Hindustani, they are known to have gone into those states of divine connection, if you may. So if that's what gets you there, go for it. But I think, as I couldn't agree with you more, that when one does perform yagnas, because in the process of yajna, it is not just the mantra ucharani that you're going through, which is helping you in one way. It is the vibration that is happening around you, which is taking it to a next level in another way. It is the whole yagna karya, the kriya that is going on, which creates a very different atmosphere. So I think, and in my opinion, probably the best part is that it has a much wider impact of for people around. I would like to believe that's just my personal belief. And the reason I was saying that, this is a very pertinent question, without probably knowing it at the way you explained it, when we wanted to conduct this 10 days of Navaratri program, we did not want to limit it to just a form of art, because more often than not, it becomes, like, oh, let's have a 10 days of singing or something of that nature. We wanted to really give it a holistic dimension, but definitely wanted to include such gnanakarya or such discourses as part of it, so people actually feed their soul as well. At the start of it, when I was referring to Saraswati Devi ji as being, the database, or basically the hard drive and the memory of our system, where I was coming from was exactly this, because if that is not well fed, if you're not putting good amount of information into that data, then your computer is only going to misbehave. So I think this is all activities that helps us put that good and rich data into the computer. Sorry, I'm going in a different dimension. Let me go to one question from that I had, if I may. Um, Sundarji, I think you and also the example that you just gave earlier of the urologist, probably all are glowing examples of how to manage both our spiritual or our adhyatmic life, along with being professionally so successful as well. More often than not, we are caught in that conundrum, like, do I spend more time in this or do I spend more time in this? I think my work is more important, the spirituality is suffering. Or, you start getting into the spiritual world and work wise, you may be going, like, not rising. But you seem to have captured both. Are there any tips that you would like to share with all of us as viewers? How were you able to do that? What should we try?
So I think, so first of all, thanks for your kind words. I think we all have a very long way to go on our journeys, both professionally and personally. But what I have seen and what I've learned from the others is about how you manage your time and your energy. That's very important. One should always have this balance. So wherever one has professional duties, he has to focus on that. And whenever there is a time and need to do, on your spiritual quest, even then people should definitely focus on that. One cannot come at the expense of the other. One just has to be cognizant. There could be some days, for example, there's immense pressure and I'm traveling to another location. In that case, I will not be able to perform all the rituals that are mandated, but I have found and learned from people how to do these things in a quick way as well. So Sandhya Vandanam, it sounds like it's something that one has to do for 5 hours. That's not true. One can perform the complete Sandhya Vandanam anywhere between 25 to 30 minutes. And that is also complete. Yes, if people have time and they can do it in a normal circumstance, they can do more, they should do more. But 25 to 30 minutes is what it takes to perform Sandhya Vandanam or meditation or puja or any of the similar things. Our scriptures always have shown ways in which something can be done in a short time. So managing time in all these things is very important. The second thing is always be cognizant of the fact that there is a beautiful saying in Devaranama which says "Alliruvuda nammane illi banne sumane." That means my house is there. I've just come here for a short while. So we are all part of this world only for a few years, and after that we will all go away. We all have to die someday or the other. So that being the case, when we are kids, we are taught, okay, now you have to join kindergarten. After you've got to go to first standard, then so on and so forth. Then you have to go to college, and then you have to get a job, and you have to get married, and you've got to have children, and so on. So we are roughly clear about what we are going to do for the next 30 years, for the first 30 years of our life. But after that, nobody has any goals. So they say, oh my God, that's why all this thing about midlife crisis is there. Let us have somebody who has a spiritual side to his life. He knows that yes, there will be a stage in which my professional interests and professional ambitions might not be as relevant to me as they are when I was very young, or when I was at the start of my career. I will reach that stage. Then what? Right? A student of who is studying in third standard, he says, why should I study? What do we tell him? No, you have to grow, you have to learn, you have to be a knowledgeable person, then you have to get a job, then you have to work so that you can earn a livelihood. He'll say, oh my God, that is so far away. Why should I worry about it? No, no, no. Every day you have to do it. It's a step by step to reach there. We teach children so many things about how to live in this world from a worldly and materialistic perspective, but we are not preparing them to in their spiritual quest. So what do we tell a child? If you study well, you are a great person. No, there are other aspects of his life. You are, if you don't do that, you are getting the child, him or her, into the world totally not prepared for the immense number of challenges that they are going to face in their life. How are they going to solve it? We have not prepared them for that. So we're asking them to jump into a swimming pool without they knowing how to swim. So just like the way we prepare our children in that long quest, we also have to, in terms of their professional life, in terms of how to manage their finances, how to buy, how to plan their career, whom should they be getting married to, what kind of life should they lead, where should they, what kind of, how we prepare them for everything. And even if not everything is told by us, but there are other people who advise them. But very, very few people are advised on how to, lead their life spiritually. Tomorrow something does not work out in their life. They have a failure. They're not able to grow in their career. They don't know what to do about it. So what do? They take to the wrong habits, right? And spoil their life. And I don't have to go through the number of examples of situations we all have seen right in front of our eyes. The people apparently extremely successful have gone into deep depression. The mental health today is one of the biggest challenges in the world, more so in the COVID era, where it is rampant. Digital distraction is counted as one of the largest diseases as announced by the United Nations. It's not a small thing. It has been declared a disease because people are not able to come out of digital mediums. They're just not able to. It's gone beyond addiction now. There are therapy centers, cloud counseling centers which have come up on how to give up digital distraction.
Correct.
Right? So that is a situation. Why? Because people don't have a spiritual quest. They don't have anything worthwhile to look forward to. So once the professional life is over, they actually don't know what to do. So after they come back from work, they don't know what to do. So what are they doing? They could have read a book. They could have done meditation. They could have gone for a jog. But no, they're sitting in front of their phones, playing, with it, being on Facebook, LinkedIn. So I call the modern pradakshina. I've got on a slightly lighter note. The modern pradakshina is different. Earlier we used to go around temples. Now it's not like that. Now pradakshina means Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram, personal mail, official mail, WhatsApp. Again, start. People keep on doing this with the hope that somebody would have messaged them something on something great. The president of the United States probably reached out to them and they were not available. So this fear of missing out is causing this. So coming back to your question, I think if one has to be professionally successful, he has to be spiritually strong. Nobody will disagree with this point. If people don't have that inner strength, they will not. The first hurdle that they face, the first challenge that they face, they will stumble on that challenge because they don't know how to deal with it, right? So to gain that, to look at, understand how office politics gets played, how there are tensions in schools, colleges, people are not able to cope up with their studies. Everything can be handled if somebody is strong from within. The foundation of an individual can only be a spiritual foundation. It cannot be a materialistic foundation. If it is, it's going to be a very short-lived one. So better get ready for the next stage. So these are lessons that I think we should all learn. I have also learned, I've been fortunate to have great friends, my own family members who have been absolute inspiration for me to learn. And I think I've learned a lot observing my guru, Dr. Kere Prabhanjanacharya, who himself is a was a teacher, and he was the principal of a college. And I learned how he manages both sides then of his life. I've also learned a lot from Pejava Swamiji. One can say, oh, he's a sannyasi, but the number of things that he could manage in a given day was stunning. I was there with him for 3 long days, virtually shadowing him, and I could see how he manages everything, because for him it was very clear. Wherever he went, he would actually see God in it, everything and everybody. So there is no bifurcation of, this is my professional life, everything is one. Our life is a spiritual one, whether we acknowledge it or not. So I think that's what I would like to say.
What a beautiful note to end it on, Sundarji. The example that you gave about Puja, late Swamiji, and also Vyasankari Prabhanjanacharya. These are all really, I think, examples in our life that we should really look up to balance both the worlds. And you very beautifully explained that it is not about balancing both the worlds, because it's only one happens, the other happens, and that's how you keep moving up, up the ladder. It's food for our mind and soul. I think we didn't realize how time has flown as we were listening to these beautiful messages from you. There are still a few questions, but I sincerely apologize to everyone, purely in the interest of time. And I think that we should call this an end. And hopefully, with all of your encouragement, we can have Dr. Sunder join us again sometime in the future, where we can continue the spiritual quest, where we can continue this journey together. On all of your behalf, I would like to sincerely thank Dr. Sunder Madakshira for having spent this time with us and for having educated us on these simple ritualistic things that we do every day, and what profound scientific knowledge and importance it has hidden behind it. Once again, thank you very much, Dr. Sunder, and wishing you a very happy rest of the Navaratri and Dasara on behalf of all of us.
Thanks to you and Chinmaya for inviting me. And it's a classic case. As I said, Sri Raghavendra Swamiji, we all think is up there, but he's not only up there, he's now down under as well. So right in Melbourne, I look forward to an opportunity to interact with all of you in person. And as the temple of Sri Raghavendra Swamiji takes shape in Melbourne, I'd love to be looking at it as it grows, and then, of course, reach its full stature. I think in the Madhvacharya for the youth workshops that we've been doing last almost 16 years, you can go to YouTube. A lot of these videos are available. One of the videos is that we made recently. It was a live workshop, was on integrating spiritual, professional, and the professional life, spiritual, personal, and professional life. All three of them. There is a workshop. If you are interested, you could go and have a look. But thank you all, and wish you happy Dashara and all the success. Namaste.
Definitely. Thank you. I think we'll definitely be sharing that with all our viewers. Thank you so much, Dr. Sunder. That concludes the day's events, day number 8 coming to an end. We have 2 more days left. We cannot thank our sponsors enough for all their help and support to bring events of this nature to you. Anybody, and there are quite more than the ones that you see on the logo, have also been helping us, who requested to be unnamed. So we thank all of them as well. If any one of you is interested in donating and participating, please feel free to contact us at the details that we have shared below. I cannot end without talking about the next day's events. And as you probably know, on the last day, I'll talk about that first. On Dasara Day, we have the renowned Vidwan Shri Brahmanya Achar talking to us on very pertinent topic about Madhvacharyaru and Raghavendra Swamiji and their contributions to our world as we know today. That will be a conversation in Kannada, so just calling it out for everyone's benefit. And lastly, concluding it with the event that we will have tomorrow. Tomorrow we have tomorrow we'll be having the Carnatic concert by Srimati Chitra Nagaraj, joining us live from Sydney. So please join us at the same time, 7:30 Australia time or 2 o'clock India time. With that, thank you everyone. Namaskara and have a good evening and a good day.